The first time her hand brushed against mine, it wasn't an accident. Or maybe it was. She could claim it later, if she wanted to. But the way she lingered, the faint press of her fingertips against the back of my knuckles, told me otherwise. I shouldn't have noticed her like that. She was my boss, the woman everyone whispered about in the office hallways. Not because she was cold, but because she never let anyone close. The kind of woman who carried herself like she had already seen the best and worst of people and wasn't easily impressed anymore. And yet, there I was, 23, and completely undone by the way she looked at me. Her name was Claire. Mid-40s, sharp eyes that could cut through any excuse, but softer when the fluorescent lights dimmed in the late hours. I'd stayed behind to finish reports that weren't even mine, just to be near her in those quiet moments when the building was nearly empty. The office felt different at night, less like a machine and more like a secret. Her perfume hung faintly in the air, warm and floral, mixed with the bitterness of cooling coffee. I pretended to type, though my eyes kept pulling toward her reflection in the darkened window. She was leaning over her desk, sleeves rolled up, a strand of hair falling out of place. "Why are you still here?" she asked without looking up, her tone more curious than annoyed. "Maybe I like the company," I said before I could stop myself. Her lips twitched into the kind of smile that wasn't meant for anyone else to see. She pushed her chair back, the scrape of it echoing in the quiet room. When she finally turned toward me, her gaze lingered a fraction too long. "I don't usually do this," she murmured, almost to herself, as if caught between habit and impulse. My chest tightened. Every muscle in my body wanted to lean forward, to close the distance between us. But I stayed still, careful. "Then let me be the first," I whispered back. Silence stretched. Not awkward, but thick, like the room itself was holding its breath. She rose from her chair, slow and deliberate, each step toward me deliberate. I could see the faint tremor in her hand when she reached for the edge of my desk, steadying herself as if testing how far she was willing to go. My throat was dry. I wanted to say her name, but the word caught behind my teeth. Claire's eyes flicked to my lips, then back to my face, reading me with a precision that made me feel stripped bare. She didn't need to ask what I wanted. She already knew. The light above us buzzed faintly, and I could hear the hum of the vending machine down the hall. Small, ordinary sounds, but they felt far away compared to the nearness of her. Her perfume was stronger now, dizzying, and when she finally let her hand drift across the desk to brush mine again, I didn't move away. "You're too young," she whispered, but her fingers curled slightly, hooking against mine as if betraying her own words. "Or maybe you're just afraid I see you too clearly," I said, the words trembling as they left me. Her breath caught. For a moment, the world shrank down to the pulse beating at her throat, the faint warmth of her hand pressed to mine, the space between us begging to be broken. Then, footsteps, heavy, unexpected, coming down the hallway. Her hand vanished like smoke. She straightened, mask slipping back into place, her eyes darting toward the door. The handle began to turn. The footsteps passed, fading into the distance, but the moment didn't come back. Claire stayed standing, arms crossed now, as if her body remembered what almost happened and was trying to erase it. "Close call," I muttered, trying to sound casual. She gave me a look that was sharper than it needed to be. "You should go home. It's late." But she didn't move away. Her desk lamp cast a soft glow across her face, highlighting the fine lines around her eyes, the faint shadow beneath them. Signs of someone who worked too much, carried too much. I wondered if anyone else had ever noticed, or if she only allowed cracks to show in front of me. "I don't mind staying," I said, quieter this time. Her eyes softened, just barely. "That's your problem. You don't mind things you should." The silence stretched again, but this time it wasn't empty. It held pieces of something else. Her regret, maybe. My wanting. I thought of what little I knew about her life outside this office. Divorced. No kids. The kind of woman who had invested everything into her career, only to end up with whispers behind her back about how she must be lonely. Maybe they weren't wrong. And me. I was the kind of man who had never learned to let go once something caught his attention. I'd dated girls my age, but they always felt impatient, always filling silence with noise. Claire wasn't like that. She wore her pauses like they were deliberate, powerful, and it drew me in. She leaned over me suddenly, reaching for a folder on my desk. Her hand brushed my shoulder, her sleeve grazing my arm. My body went stiff, but I didn't move. Her hair fell forward, the faint warmth of her breath grazing the side of my neck. I swallowed hard. Do you always stand this close? Her lips curved into something between a smile and a warning. Do you always notice? The truth was yes. I noticed everything. The way she held her pen too tightly, like she was trying to control more than ink. The way her heels clicked softer when she was tired. The way her laughter, rare as it was, made my chest tighten like I was hearing something precious. I noticed her in ways I had no right to. She must have known, because when she straightened, she didn't retreat all the way. She lingered just close enough that the edge of her perfume still wrapped around me. This can't, she started, then stopped, pressing her lips together. I wanted to ask why not, but I already knew. The age gap, the office, the stares we would get. Still, I couldn't stop myself from saying, then don't finish that sentence. Her eyes met mine, steady, unreadable. For a moment, she didn't look like my boss. She looked like someone on the edge of a decision she had no intention of making, yet couldn't resist holding in her hands. And then, just as she turned toward her desk, her fingers brushed mine again, deliberate this time. A touch quick enough to deny, but warm enough to keep me awake all night. The next day, I told myself I'd keep things normal, routine, professional. But the moment I saw her, all those promises crumbled. Claire walked into the office in a navy dress, hair pinned back, sharp and composed like nothing had happened last night. Except when her eyes flicked to mine, just for a second too long, I knew she remembered too. All morning, we avoided each other. Or rather, we pretended to. She gave me assignments she could have emailed, stood behind me to point at charts she could have explained from her desk. And each time, her nearness unsettled me more than it should have. By noon, the tension was unbearable. She leaned over me again, checking a file I'd spread across my desk. The scent of her perfume, the brush of her sleeve, it was too much. My heart hammered as if the walls themselves might hear it. You missed a line here, she said softly, her voice low enough that only I could hear. I turned, and suddenly we were face to face, closer than last night. I didn't mean to, but my gaze dropped to her lips. Her breath caught, and I swore she noticed. Claire, I whispered. Her name felt dangerous on my tongue, and her eyes darkened at the sound. She didn't move away. In fact, she leaned the slightest bit closer, until the sound of the door swinging open shattered the moment. We jerked apart. Hey, Claire. One of the senior managers strode in, holding a stack of papers. His eyes flicked between us, narrowing just slightly. Sorry to interrupt. Claire straightened, slipping her professional mask back on in an instant. What is it? He handed her the documents, but his gaze lingered. I forced myself to look busy, scribbling notes on the margin of a page, though my hand trembled faintly. Finally, he left. The door clicked shut. Silence. We both exhaled at the same time, a soft laugh breaking from her lips before she could stop it. I looked up, stunned by the sound. You're going to get us caught, she said, half teasing, half accusing. You were the one standing too close, I murmured back. She gave me a look, half warning, half something else. Do you even understand what would happen if someone found out? Yes, I said simply. And I don't care. She shook her head, but the faintest smile tugged at the corner of her mouth. You're reckless. Or maybe you're just afraid you want this too much. Her breath hitched, and for one suspended heartbeat, we weren't boss and employee anymore. We were just two people in a room, standing too close, daring each other not to move. I leaned forward, almost closing the space. She didn't stop me. But then, her phone buzzed. The sound cut between us like a blade. She flinched, reaching for it too quickly. A message lit up the screen, someone's name flashing in bold. She read it, lips pressing into a thin line, then locked the phone without answering. When she looked back at me, her expression was torn, but her body betrayed her. She didn't step away. She stayed there, close enough that I could feel the warmth radiating between us, close enough that if either of us so much as breathed wrong, everything would change. Neither of us moved. I thought about that moment all night, the way she hadn't moved away even when she should have. By morning, my body still carried the ghost of her nearness, and nothing could shake it. When I walked into her office later that day, I didn't even bother pretending anymore. My chest was tight, my pulse racing, and when she looked up from her desk, the flicker in her eyes told me she felt it too. Close the door, she said softly. The click of the latch echoed like a verdict. She leaned back in her chair, studying me in silence, her fingers drumming once against the armrest before going still. "This has to stop," she murmured. But her voice lacked conviction. I stepped closer, drawn like a moth to a flame I knew would burn me. "Then why did you call me in here?" Her breath caught, but she didn't answer. I came around the desk, standing over her now. Too close. Close enough to see the faint tremble of her hand as she adjusted a pin that didn't need adjusting. "You don't know what you're doing," she said, though her voice was softer now, almost pleading. "Then tell me to leave," I whispered. She didn't. Instead, she pushed back her chair, rising slowly until we were face to face. I could see the fine strands of hair falling loose from her bun, the faint shine of exhaustion beneath her eyes, the way her chest rose and fell unevenly. "I can't," she started, but her words faltered. I reached up, almost without thinking, and brushed that loose strand of hair from her face. My fingertips lingered against her temple longer than they should have, sliding just barely past her ear. Her eyelids fluttered, betraying her. "Claire." Her name was barely a breath on my lips. She closed the space between us, not all the way, just enough that I could feel her body heat, the faint tremor in her breath as it brushed across my skin. "This isn't fair," she whispered. "What isn't?" "You, looking at me like this." "Like what?" I asked, my voice low against her ear. "Like I'm the only one you've ever wanted." Her words struck deeper than she realized. I swallowed hard, my chest aching with something I couldn't disguise anymore. "Maybe you are." Her lips parted, but she didn't speak. Instead, her hand lifted, hesitated, then landed lightly against my chest. My heartbeat thudded against her palm, loud enough I swore she could feel it. We stood there, caught between fear and inevitability. Every second was a battle neither of us wanted to win. "I can't let this happen," she whispered again, though her hand didn't move. "Then stop me," I said. I leaned in, the world narrowing to the space between her lips and mine, every breath thick with unspoken need. And just as I felt her lean toward me, the office phone rang, loud and jarring. She froze. I froze. The sound filled the room, demanding an answer neither of us wanted to give. The phone rang and rang, breaking the spell until Claire finally snatched it up. Her voice was sharp, too sharp, like she needed the edge to keep from trembling. "Yes?" she said into the receiver, her tone clipped. Then a pause. Her face shifted, first surprise, then something darker. "No, I'll handle it. Thank you." She set the phone down slowly, her fingers tightening against the desk as if anchoring herself. "What is it?" I asked, my voice still hushed from what almost happened. She didn't answer right away. Instead, she turned to me, eyes unreadable, though I could see the pulse quickening at her throat. "Someone saw us yesterday." The words landed heavy. I felt my stomach twist, but before I could speak, she added, "They didn't say anything outright, just a comment. About how close we looked. About how distracted you seemed." Her gaze pinned me. For the first time, I saw fear there, not for herself, but for what this could cost her. I stepped forward instinctively, but she moved back, her body tense. "Don't," she whispered. But her hands betrayed her. They were trembling, her knuckles white where she gripped the desk. "Claire, you don't understand." She cut me off, her voice breaking just slightly. "I've worked my whole life to be taken seriously. And one mistake." She stopped, shaking her head as if even saying it was too much. I wanted to argue, to tell her I wasn't a mistake. But then, softer than I expected, she added, "You make me forget myself. And that terrifies me." The air between us thickened. Her confession wasn't just about fear. It was about desire she couldn't contain anymore. I moved closer despite her protest, my arm brushing hers as I reached for the edge of the desk. The contact was brief, but it sent a jolt through both of us. She sucked in a breath, eyes snapping to mine. "You can't keep looking at me like that," she whispered, but her voice faltered as if begging me not to stop. "Then stop looking back," I said, my words low, almost a plea. Her hand twitched, as if she wanted to touch me but didn't dare. Instead, she pressed her palm flat against the desk, the tension radiating through her body. "You're too young," she whispered again, but it sounded hollow now, more like an excuse than a truth. "Or maybe you're just scared because you want this as much as I do." Her lips parted, but she didn't deny it. Instead, she stepped past me, close enough that her shoulder brushed against my chest. The contact was brief, accidental by appearance, but deliberate in the way she didn't apologize. When she reached the door, her hand hesitated on the handle. For a moment, I thought she would walk out. Instead, without turning back, she said, "Meet me after hours. No one else can know." The door clicked shut behind her, leaving me with nothing but the echo of her voice and the thundering in my chest. The office was empty when I arrived. The quiet pressed down heavy, broken only by the hum of the air conditioner and the ticking of the wall clock. I didn't know if she would actually come. Maybe her words had been just that, a moment of weakness. But when the door opened, soft and cautious, I knew. Claire stepped inside, closing it quickly behind her. She didn't bother with small talk, didn't pretend this was about work. Her eyes found mine immediately, sharp and vulnerable all at once. "Why are you here?" she asked, though she already knew. "Because you asked me to be." She exhaled, shaky, and for the first time I saw her guard completely falter. She set her bag down slowly, her movements deliberate, like each second was a test of whether she'd go through with this. "I shouldn't have said that," she whispered. "Then why did you?" Her lips parted, but no words came. Instead, she moved closer. Just a step, then another, until the distance between us was measured in inches, not feet. The air grew thick, heavy with everything we'd been holding back. Her perfume wrapped around me, warm and dizzying. I could see the faint tremor in her hands, the way her chest rose unevenly. "You make me feel," she started, then broke off, shaking her head. "I don't even know how to explain it." "Don't," I said softly. "Just feel it." Her gaze searched mine, desperate, uncertain. And then she reached up, her fingers brushing the side of my jaw. The touch was feather-light, hesitant, but it undid me completely. I caught her hand gently, holding it against my cheek. My pulse thundered beneath her fingertips. "Claire," I whispered, her name a confession in itself. Her breath shuddered, and then she leaned closer, so close her forehead rested against mine. I could feel the warmth of her lips hovering just shy of mine, the electricity sparking in that impossible space. "This is a mistake," she murmured. "Then let's make it together," I breathed. The silence after that wasn't empty, it was alive. My hands found her waist, tentative at first, then firmer when she didn't pull away. She pressed closer, her body fitting against mine like it had been waiting for this. Our lips hovered, trembling on the edge of a kiss neither of us dared finish. The world blurred until there was nothing but her breath against my mouth, her hand clutching the back of my shirt as if she might fall without it. "Finally," she whispered, "I can't lose myself in this." "You won't," I promised. "Not alone." Her eyes glistened, and in them I saw everything: her fear, her longing, her regret, her surrender. And then she closed the last inch between us. The kiss wasn't perfect. It was messy, hesitant, trembling, but it was real. Years of her restraint colliding with my reckless need. The air around us seemed to crack open, and for the first time, there was no going back. When we finally broke apart, breathless, she didn't step away. She stayed close, forehead against mine, her hand still at my jaw. "Now you know," she whispered. "I always did," I said. In that moment, there was no more hiding. We had chosen. The silence after our kiss was heavier than any words could have been. Her forehead rested against mine, her breath uneven, her hand still trembling slightly where it cupped my jaw. For the first time, she didn't try to hide it. I could have spoken, filled the quiet with reassurances or promises, but I didn't. Instead, I let the stillness carry us, let her know I wasn't going anywhere. Finally, she pulled back just enough to look at me. Her eyes were searching, full of questions she hadn't dared ask until now. "You know this isn't going to be easy," she said, her voice quiet but steady. I nodded. "I don't need easy. I just need real." Her lips curved, just barely, into something that was almost a smile. She sank into the chair beside me, not across the desk, not at a distance, but close enough that our knees brushed. She leaned back, exhaling like she'd been holding her breath for years. For a while, we just sat there. Her hand lay on the armrest between us, fingers twitching as if unsure what to do. Slowly, carefully, I reached over and laced my fingers through hers. She didn't resist. In fact, her grip tightened, as though she was afraid I might let go first. "People will talk," she whispered. "Let them," I said. "They don't get to decide this for us." Her gaze softened. She studied me for a long moment, as though trying to decide whether she believed me. Then she leaned sideways, resting her head against my shoulder. The weight of it was grounding, her hair brushing my neck, the faint warmth of her body seeping into mine. "You're not what I expected," she admitted, her voice muffled but tender. "And you're everything I didn't know I needed," I replied. She let out a shaky laugh, one that cracked open the tension still lodged in her chest. I turned slightly, pressing a gentle kiss to the top of her head. Not rushed, not desperate, just steady, like a promise. For the first time, she didn't flinch at the affection. She leaned into it, closing her eyes, her hand still firmly in mine. The clock ticked on, the office around us fading into nothing. All the whispers, the doubts, the rules, they would still be there tomorrow. But in that moment, none of it mattered. She had chosen to stay. I had chosen not to let go. And somehow that was enough. When she finally spoke again, her voice was soft, fragile in a way I'd never heard before. "Don't make me regret this," she whispered. "You won't," I said, pressing her hand tighter in mine. "Not as long as you let me stay." She closed her eyes, leaning closer, her forehead brushing my shoulder. And in the quiet of that room, with her fingers entwined in mine and the weight of her body pressed gently against me, I knew we were in this together now.